Meet Bob Parr, Mr. Incredible, a muscle-bound, ego-powered man who punches crime in the face before breakfast. Then there's Elastigirl, real name Helen, who can stretch like pizza dough and somehow still manages to keep her hair flawless. It's Bob's wedding day, and he's running late because he's out doing superhero things, rescuing cats from trees, stopping high-speed police chases, and saving a guy mid-suicide attempt by launching both of them through a skyscraper window. You know, casual pre-wedding warm-ups. Then along comes Bomb Voyage, a mime-themed French villain who really enjoys explosives and saying bonjour with a bang. While Mr. Incredible is trying to stop Voyage, an overeager kid named Buddy shows up, wearing fanboy goggles and dreams of being a sidekick. Unfortunately, Bob's a one-man show. No kids allowed. Buddy doesn't take it well. Voyage slaps a bomb on Buddy's cape and chaos erupts. Bob saves the kid but causes a metro train explosion in the process. Heroic? Yes. Clean and lawsuit-free? Absolutely not. Buddy is sent home by the cops with a crushed dream and a growing vendetta. Foreshadowing much? Bob finally staggers into his wedding late and slightly bruised, but still manages to say, "I do," before more villains crash the party. Happy ending? Not quite. Lawsuits start flying faster than speeding bullets. The guy Bob saved from jumping sues him for ruining his suicide attempt, because that's totally how gratitude works now. The train passengers? Also suing. Apparently, being saved at the cost of some whiplash wasn't in their plans. And just like that, superheroes are canceled. Literally. Fast forward 15 years, and we find our once great legends Bob and Helen Parr, Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl, now rebranded as just Mom and Dad, quietly surviving in suburbia, where the most dangerous thing is a PTA meeting. Their super kids are a walking power surge waiting to happen. Violet. A moody teen with invisibility powers and a literal emotional force field. She disappears more than her social confidence. Dash. Runs faster than your Wi-Fi and constantly tries to convince Mom to let him join track. Jack. The baby. Adorable and seemingly normal. The Parrs now reside in Metroville, where Bob is stuck at a soul-sucking job as an insurance adjuster, aka the Grim Reaper of claims. His job? Say no to desperate people using the power of paperwork. But he's got a heart of gold, so he secretly helps sweet old ladies like Ms. Hoganson navigate red tape, much to the fury of his pocket-sized boss, Gilbert Huff. Bob is bored out of his brick-headed mind. So what does he do? He sneaks out with his bestie, Lucius Best, Frozone, a guy who turns air into ice. Together, they relive their glory days by stopping muggings and fires in the shadows like it's a midlife crisis hobby. It's all fun and games until they realize that one of their old super pals just went missing. Suspicious? Absolutely. But Bob's too busy pretending to be Clark Kent by day and Batman Light by night. But Bob is about to get exactly what he wished for. Things get worse when Bob's pint-sized tyrant of a boss, Gilbert Huff, gives him the "do not help people" lecture while someone is literally getting mugged right outside the office window. Bob, trying to contain years of frustration, fails spectacularly. He yeets Huff through several walls like a human bowling ball. The office now has an open plan design and Bob has. No job. But then Mirage, a mysterious, sultry voicemail lady who basically says, "Hey, we have a job for you. Great benefits, no paperwork." Bob is in. Finally, something more exciting than spreadsheets and passive-aggressive memos. He tells Helen he's off to a very important insurance conference. He doesn't mention that he was fired because honesty is hard. Bob arrives at Nomanison Island and gets dropped into a jungle with one rampaging Omnidroid, a massive spider-legged AI that's basically Alexa with a vendetta. Bob does some classic Mr. Incredible moves, tricks the robot into performing a live-action uninstall on itself. Back home, Bob starts lifting trains instead of paperwork, eating steaks instead of sad sandwiches, and suddenly has muscles again. He realizes that his old supersuit has seen better days, so Bob visits the one and only Edna Mode, fashion icon, and genius. She makes Bob a sleek new red and yellow outfit. Oh, and because Edna assumes Bob totally told Helen about his little superhero side hustle, she also whips up matching suits for the entire Parr family. Bob, freshly suited up and juiced on ego and protein shakes, heads back to Nomanison Island for round 2, still under the delusion that he's on a heroic business trip and not, waltzing into a villain's evil lair. Surprise? The mysterious Mirage isn't just your friendly GPS voice. She's working for none other than Buddy Pine, aka Incrediboy. Apparently, telling a 10-year-old, "I work alone," can create long-lasting psychological trauma. Who knew? Well, Buddy grew up, got rich, got bitter, and rebranded himself as Syndrome, inventor and self-declared super without the inconvenient burden of actually having powers. Syndrome's vibe is basically Elon Musk meets revenge-obsessed anime villain, and he's been busy. Not only does he try to off Bob by launching him into a lake with a bomb, but he also assumes Bob is dead when he doesn't immediately float. Classic villain mistake. Never confirm the kill. That night, Bob sneaks into Syndrome's top-secret fortress like it's Die Hard, Dad Edition. There, he finds the master plan file conveniently labeled Operation Kronos, because villains are nothing if not dramatic. Turns out Syndrome has been sending wave after wave of his killer robot, the Omnidroid, to fight actual superheroes. Why? To perfect it, by letting it murder them. Bob finds out that the Omnidroid 9000 is about to be unleashed on Metroville. Back home, Helen finds a tear in his old suit and instantly knows Edna mode. She visits Edna, who casually reveals, "Oh yes, darling, I made matching outfits for the whole fam." Edna embedded GPS tracking in their suits, which led to Helen finding Bob's location. Unfortunately, this also alerts Syndrome to Bob's presence, and just like that, Bob is captured. Again, midlife crisis, upgraded to full-blown supervillain hostage situation. After getting hit with the shocking realization that her husband is playing James Bond behind her back, Helen Parr doesn't waste time crying into her stretch fabric pillow. Nope. She takes the new designer's supersuits home and immediately phones up Snug Porter, her chill-as-heck pilot buddy. She borrows his jet like it's no big deal and zooms off on a rescue mission. What could possibly go wrong? Oh right, the kids. Dash and Violet, who clearly inherited their dad's ignore authority gene, sneak onto the plane with their shiny new supersuits and zero backup plans. Baby Jack is left at home with teen babysitter Carrie, who is vastly underpaid for what's about to go down. Syndrome, listening in on their radio chatter like a creep, gives the go-ahead to blow the plane out of the sky, even after learning that there are children on board. Parenting tip: maybe don't let your unhealed childhood trauma guide military-grade decisions. Boom. The plane gets wrecked. Bob, back on the island and monitoring the disaster, believes his family just got Thanos snapped midair. Cue internal screaming. But surprise, the family survives. Once ashore, Helen hides the kids in a conveniently dramatic cave and tells them, "Only use your powers if you're in danger." Meanwhile, Helen infiltrates Syndrome's base with the elegance of a spy mom on a deadline. She discovers the full plan. Syndrome is launching the final version of his killer Roomba, the Omnidroid, to Metroville via rocket. And it turns out, oops, the kids are hiding in the rocket's exhaust pipe cave. That's right. Syndrome has so much villain flair, his exhaust vents lead to child hideouts. Cue chaos. The kids are forced to flee as the rocket starts cooking the cave like a microwave dinner. The island's security system locks onto them, and suddenly, Dash and Violet are playing a live-action game of laser tag, Death Edition. Meanwhile, Bob's still in custody and manages to get a hold of Mirage. Syndrome, who clearly missed every ethics class, tells Bob to prove his strength by straight-up killing Mirage. Bob refuses because, shocker, he's a superhero, not a psychopath. Mirage has an existential crisis and a change of heart. Standard Tuesday stuff. And releases Bob, then breaks the news that surprise. His wife and kids are alive and possibly being hunted by robots. Helen bursts into the scene and the reunion is sweet but short-lived. The kids are in danger, the villain is airborne, and Syndrome is living his best evil tech bro fantasy. Dash and Violet are handling themselves like tiny Avengers. The family finally reunites just in time for another capture. Syndrome shows up like, "Hi, I'm still the problem," traps the whole fam in floating force fields and takes off to Metroville, where he plans to stage the world's most expensive PR stunt. Nothing says redemption like building a murder bot, launching it at a city, and then fake saving the day, right? With Syndrome off playing budget Iron Man and thinking he's won, the Parrs, now a fully activated superhero family, hop aboard a spare rocket with some conveniently available escape instructions, courtesy of Mirage. Meanwhile, in Metroville, Syndrome's giant mechanical murder donut lands and begins absolutely wrecking the city. Syndrome, strutting in like he's about to win America's Got Ego, tries to control it. Boom, it shoots off his remote control, knocks Syndrome out, and starts its independent rampage like a toddler with laser cannons. Enter the Parrs, looking like a 2000s action movie poster. What follows is a glorious mashup of teamwork, acrobatics, one-liners, and one very determined mom stealing a remote mid-battle. Eventually, Bob uses one of the robot's own claws to stab its power source. Kaboom! Robot goes down, city is saved, and the public goes wild. The Parrs return home to find Syndrome already there, casually attempting a baby heist. He plans to steal Jack-Jack and raise him as his own sidekick. Unfortunately for Syndrome, Jack-Jack finally levels up. The baby suddenly goes full Looney Tunes meets X-Men, exploding with powers no one can explain. Flames, metal, demon mode, the works. Jack-Jack becomes a shape-shifting baby blender and escapes Syndrome midair, while Helen uses her elastic reflexes to catch him. And just when Syndrome tries to escape in his jet, boom, Bob launches his own car at the aircraft. Syndrome's cape gets caught in the jet's turbine, and he gets sucked into a jet engine like a villainous smoothie. 3 months later, the Parrs are finally vibing. Dash joins the school track team and finally learns restraint. Violet no longer hides behind her hair and even asks Tony riding her out. Just as life settles, the ground explodes and a drill-wielding mole man named the Underminer bursts out of the street like a dramatic earthworm from hell. The Parrs don their masks, strike a pose, and smile like a family ready for round 2. Because this time, they're doing it together.